Welcome to Consider the Confession, a brief discussion of matters about and within the Second London Baptist Confession of Faith. My name is Fred Pugh. I am chairman of the Board of Trustees of the International Reformed Baptist Seminary, and I'm here again today with Dr. James Renihan, president of the seminary. Good morning again, Dr. Renihan.
Good morning, Pastor Pugh.
Dr. Renihan, we've been discussing the First London Confession of Faith because it does lay the groundwork for the Second London Confession of Faith.
Mm-hmm.
And in our last few sessions, we've been looking at the political situation that was extant in England during the period of the writing of the First London Confession. We talked the last time about how all of the political circumstances affected the particular Baptist churches of England in that time. And I guess I wonder, after all the failed attempts to govern England after the execution of Charles I, in 1660, Charles II was invited to return to the throne. And I wonder what effect that had upon the churches.
Well, it had a significant effect. It introduced a period of persecution that lasted until 1689, so nearly 30 years. The persecution at times was very hot. At other times it was mild, but it was still very real. I think probably what we ought to talk about here, at least briefly, is something that was called the Clarendon Code. Now, Charles II made promises before he returned in a document known as the Declaration of Breda, and it's where he made certain commitments. They all sounded good because he sounded like he wanted to return to England and have peace in the land. But actually what he did was he came back and he introduced some measures that led to some serious persecution. The Clarendon Code involves 4 specific acts. The first one in 1661 was called the Corporation Act, and it required everybody who was a civil servant to go to their parish church and to take the sacrament, participate in the observance of the Lord's Supper in the Church of England, according to the Book of Common Prayer.
Did that include soldiers?
I don't know for sure. Probably it did, but I'm not positive. But, that was a trick that was intended to remove from office anyone who, because of their conscience, couldn't go to the local parish and participate. So many Puritan-leaning civil servants, politicians, members of councils and such things, were forced out of their position because in good conscience they could not participate. Then in 1662, maybe the most famous of the 4 is the Act of Uniformity. It was on the last Sunday of August in 1662, and it was aimed at the church. The first one was civil servants. This is aimed at the church, and it required the ministers of the Church of England to promise to use faithfully the Book of Common Prayer. There were also oaths of allegiance that were to be taken to the king and to the crown. This is, it's called the Great Ejection. This was put together knowing once more that the Puritans would not violate their consciences and lead worship according to the Book of Common Prayer. So it's estimated about 2,000 of them laid down their ministries. They left the Church of England, which imagine how difficult that must be.
That's incredible.
Yeah, your people that you've come to love and that you've been serving and who love you, your livelihood, you're stepping aside from the way that you're able to support your family with no prospect of any other means by which to do so. It was a very brave action, and about 2,000 of them left the church. This was followed in 1664 by another act that was specifically against those who were called nonconformists. They wouldn't conform under the Act of Uniformity. And this was called the Conventicle Act, and it stated that no meetings for worship could be held of more than 5 people who were not from the same household. So if you had a large household, a large family, you could have family worship, but you couldn't gather together more than 5 people who were from outside the household. And the fines were stiff. They were stiff for the people, but even worse for the ministers. It was aimed at the nonconformists. So these Puritan ministers would hold worship services in homes or barns or out in the fields or someplace. And when the sheriffs found them, they would fine them, and the fines escalated every time that it happened, and they were basically debilitating, financially debilitating.
So this would have affected not only the Baptists, but also the Presbyterians and the Congregationalists.
Absolutely, yes. It affected everybody who was outside the Church of England. Then finally, in 1665, there was the 5 Mile Act. The 5 Mile Act said that ministers who had left the Church of England, nonconformist ministers, could not travel within 5 miles of the place where they had served previously, or any incorporated towns, meaning a town that had some kind of formal structure, not just a village, but an incorporated town. They could not come within 5 miles. Now, today, what would that be? Let's say it takes maybe an hour to walk 5 miles. Today it might be 60 miles that you can't come within wherever you were before, or any town or village. So you're living out in the boondocks, and of course, these are men of conscience who want to continue to serve Christ and to serve people along the way. And it profoundly affected all of the churches.
So Charles II did not bring peace.
Not at all. No, he brought vengeance.
Well, we will look more at this as we proceed through the confession.
Okay.